Hello there and welcome back to another edition of Silly Car Showdown. Today we are taking a look at the AMC Gremlin. This car was requested by CR27 and I approve of his choice very much. I love AMC, mostly because they made ridiculous economy cars like the Pacer, which I adore, and later the Eagle, which is also fantastic. The Gremlin is also very fantastic because they basically took a car and chopped its arse off and then said, hey, it's the world's first American economy car. Yeah, it has a 5-litre V8 in it. 5-litre V8 isn't sticking in it because the 5-litre V8 in this car makes 140 horsepower. We can do better than that. More specifically, we can do quite a bit better than that. So our engine choices: 6.2-litre V8 LS engine, an 8.4-litre V10 Viper engine, a 7-litre Hemi, or we can stick a V12 in it. Let's do that. Anyways, of course, we cannot swap the drivetrain on the Pacer, so it's going to have to stick rear-wheel drive. I'm sure that'll be fun. And apparently this car has a couple of body mods. Of course, we cannot use Forza Aero. It's against the rules of this series. Apparently they're not going to be nearly as interesting as I thought they would be. Oh well. Anyways, we won't have any of that crap, we'll just have the Pacer as is. A lot of tyres. We want race tyres, which bump this thing immediately up to S1. 245s on the front, and 305s on... Jesus Christ. Okay, big rear tyres, that is a big bonus. And the small front tyres, maybe not so much. Definitely going to want the gearbox, because this thing, I believe standard has a 3-speed. I'm not joking, it's why I like the Pacer, because it's ridiculous. Oh, sorry, the Gremlin. I occasionally say Pacer and Gremlin. Ignore that. Of course, we're going to want the racer dampers. Not quite the ride height lowering technology the Stelvio had, but still, nevertheless, pretty cool. You know, car's great when the roll cage bumps the PI up that much. And we are going to do a cheeky bit of weight reduction. Right, let's see what sort of power we can make with our twin-turbo V12. Stick all of that in it. I see the PI is not going up at all. Good sign. And finally, lob on the intercooler for 1,515 horsepower, 1,101 foot-pound torque, 2,651 pounds of weight. 4 seconds to 60, 264 miles an hour. Sure. I can't wait to drive it. It's going to be ridiculous, I know that much. It's not going to be... I mean, it could, the funny thing is, as much as I'm laughing at it, it could actually genuinely be quick, depending on how this is going to work out. It depends how much issues we have getting the power down. If we don't have issues, this car will be quick. If we do have issues like I'm expecting to, we're going to have another Ford Wooded wanker on our hands. Still, let's go see what happens when it goes to the track. So, here we are. It's time to see how the AMC Pacer handles its 1,500 horsepower by taking it around our SCS track here in a very snowy Edinburgh, where the car will get 5 laps to set the best time it possibly can. Our current leader, our new leader, as of last episode, was the Alfa Romeo Stelvio with a 1:43.20 for AMC Gremlin. Probably unlikely to beat that. Realistically, as of right now, I think the place this car should aim for is Wooded Wanker time, the 1:53.813. That's probably what I'm going to expect, but you never know. The Gremlin may surprise, and as of right now, I am actually pretty darn surprised. It's controllable. What is this? I was not quite... don't get me wrong, I saw 305s on the rear, and I was kind of impressed. A little bit more relieved to see that. This thing's actually handling pretty darn nicely. Oh god. It is the fastest car currently down the Smile, 162 miles an hour. That is quicker than the Stelvio. Admittedly, it did not get stopped, but then again, the Stelvio sort of struggled when it went for its 160 mile an hour. Things do get a little bit touchy as you get to the higher speeds. Gotta admit, you do have to sort of have a fair bit of steering input. The rear end does like to feel like it wants to meet the front end, but it's actually not too bad. I'm really impressed with its traction at lower speeds, sort of how quickly it's able to cope and just go. You can unsettle it, but it's nowhere near as bad as, you know, driving something like the Wooded Wanker, which really was an absolute handful when you got it wrong. Or, you know, we've had quite a few cars that have had slidey arse ends on them, and yeah, this is actually pretty darn nice, pretty controllable, even on that lap, which is our first lap. We're not too far off the time of the Wooded Wanker. It would actually go relatively... I mean, it'd still be on the lower end of the leaderboard, but even with that time, it would have beaten the bloody Unimog and the Peel. The Wooded Wankers, or the Super Talks, I should say. That is actually the quickest... Oh, sorry, the slowest actual car we've had. The Unimog and the Peel are more just sort of... I mean, they didn't have race tyres for one, and, you know, the Peel and the Unimog, I believe they were, like, B-class, and everything else that's taken on this course so far has been, like, S, so, yeah. Yeah, it does slide around a bit, but the key difference between this and something else is this is actually more controllable than one of those would be, and only as the tyres start to get more hot air, we should be able to feel that a little bit more. Yeah, this thing is seriously quick. The gear ratios are seriously long. I'd probably shorten them a little bit. I mean, again, this thing is claimed... I mean, it is claimed to have 264 mph top speed, but I don't think you quite need the gears as far out as they are. But, you know, that's up to you to decide if you wanted to build your own version of this AMC Gremlin. Brakes hard. See, unlike the Stelvio, I'm actually somewhat aware of the fact that this thing is going to have piss awful brakes, so I'm getting ready to jump on them when needs be. Try and control it. A 150.812. That is a pretty darn impressive time. I'd actually put it into 4th, I believe, so maybe the Cayman. I mean, it could have gone after the Cayman. The Cayman was a really nice driving car. You know, towards the top of the leaderboard is naturally where you see the slightly more sensible stuff. So, is this going to be sensible? Ironically enough, when we did Silly Car Showdown back on Forza 7, the Pacer, the V8 Pacer, which I think we put like 1100 horsepower into, that did surprisingly well. Like, that got towards the top end of our leaderboard, which was definitely, well, it was sort of more mid-ish. I think it was like 6th or 7th though, which is no easy feat. So AMCs maybe just might be naturally quite good for this. I mean, they do have the advantage of having the bigger tyres, and I guess they're sort of heavier than some other American cars of this time, and especially European cars. Granted, this thing is pretty light, you know, 2,500 pounds, but it's, compared to what Europe would have at the time, or Japan, you know, you compare the weight of this to like a 74 Civic, which is probably going to be like way under 2,000 pounds. It is pretty... Ooh, I'm going to try and get stopped for that. Just about a little bit sloppy, but again, 1,500 horsepower Gremlin, give me a slight break. If we can get a lap where everything goes right for the Gremlin, it very well could beat the Cayman. As of right now, though, it's still doing a hell of a lot better than I expected to. I'm really impressed by its ability to hang on through the corners. I was expecting this to be more of a nightmare than it actually is. It's, again, you know, I'm not going to turn around to you and say it's a Dodge Viper ACR. it's not a great handling car. You know, the Stelvio was much better last time, but rear-wheel drive, 1515 horsepower. You know, it's not an easy feat, so it's doing quite well. I mean, it is literally over 10 times the power this vehicle came with stock. In fact, it's probably closer to 11 times the power of the stock pace, where it's 140 odd horsepower. So to say it can deal with this power, it's doing really very, very well indeed. And it is very, very quick. Easily the quickest car we've had in terms of straight line speed, no doubt. This thing could absolutely... I could have swore that was... No. This lap's a bit of a bust as well. I'd like to get it into the 149s. I feel it could do that on a perfect lap. I don't know why I'm sort of pussyfooting the throttle so much as well, because this thing really can take... You know, this is full throttle. In the wooded wagon, I'd have been down there somewhere, probably in a lake, dying, freezing to death. But the Gremlin does not want to do that, which is nice. Alright, final lap. Let's make everything go... Let's try and make everything go nice for the Gremlin. It's this low speed stuff that is surprising me the most, just how capable it is at the lower speeds. You know, most of these super high horsepower American cars would be waggling their tails everywhere. Hell, we even saw the Stelvio sort of struggle with those sections, perhaps more than the Gremlin does, because the Gremlin really is very, very controlled through those sections. We come down to the Glasgow Smile once again. We'll see how much speed we can pick up down here. Ooh, smash into a couple of light posts. Gun it. Ooh, I mean, 153 even down there is very impressive. I'd love to see what this thing would be like with four-wheel drive. I'm not going to do it purely because the series does not allow it. But you know, this thing with all-wheel drive, this could seriously be a very, very quick car indeed. Alright, as we come down here once again, try not to mess this corner up. I usually do try and take the tightest line I possibly can, depending on the vehicle. Sometimes the bigger the car, the harder it is to do that. And as you saw a minute ago, with the Gremlin, I did snag it a little bit. So we slow down to come into this section. Get that throttle planted to the ground. A 149, 182. It just hit that barrier on the side towards the end. I don't think it would have gone quicker than the Cayman, even if it didn't hit that. But still, yeah, a mighty, 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 mighty effort from the Gremlin. That was a hell of a lot quicker than I was expecting. A hell of a lot nicer to drive than I was expecting. I was just expecting it to, you know, do straight line speed. I wasn't even expecting it to do that particularly well. But the Gremlin has certainly surprised. Once again, AMC doling out surprises on the Silly Car Showdown series. Anyways, with a time of a 149.182, the Cayman is... the Gremlin is gonna go into 4th place. Goes in between the Porsche Cayman GTS, for which it is about a second down on, and it goes quicker than the Acura RSX, which it is... Ooh, apparently I managed to rewind there. Yeah, and it goes about a second and a half quicker than the Acura RSX. Very, very, very impressive car. I do really like it. If you haven't used the Gremlin yet, maybe it's time to pull out your garage and chuck a few upgrades at it and see what it does, because, yeah, it seems to be a mighty impressive car indeed. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching this edition of Silly Car Showdown. If you'd like to request cars for the series, very simple way to do it. You go in the comment section of either my video or the video on HD Central's YouTube channel, and comment what cars you'd like to see. If you'd like to see a list of stuff already requested and rules for requests, you can go into the description of either video, and there will be a nice little list for you there, sorted alphabetically of who requested what. The more interesting the request, the more likely it is to get done quicker. If you've enjoyed this episode, if you want to see more of my content in John HG Central, you can click down below to visit my channel. I make subpar 6 out of 10 at best content for you all to enjoy, and if you do still subscribe there, you do get these videos a day earlier, which is lovely. But yeah, thank you all once again for watching, and until next time, a farewell.